Shalandra Birch, our at-large rep.
Joanna's here.
Terry Burnside. Chief Echevarria.
Hello, I'm here.
Kevin Evans represents the city manager's office. Allison Galvin, our under 25 rep.
Present.
Thank you. Nikolai Greaves, 5th District. Nina Gugis, I think she is excused, the NAACP rep. Chanel Hargrave Murray, 4th District. Lorraine King, 3rd District. I see you. Lee Lang, 2nd District. You're muted, Lee.
Present.
Thank you. Tyson Parks III at large. Catherine Shidley, 1st District.
Present.
Alexander Sierra, under 25. Karen J. Wilson at large. And Janice Sigardo at large. I'm here. So I believe we have established a quorum. Bear with me. I've been told I need to read this whole governor's proclamation. So I'm gonna bore you guys for just a minute here. Tells everybody why we're meeting on Zoom. So public notice on October 20th, 2021. Governor Pritzker signed a new gubernatorial disaster proclamation extending the statewide declaration through September 18th, 2021. With the signing of this disaster proclamation, public meetings can continue to be held remotely per the requirements listed below. All meetings with customers should be done on a remote platform if at all possible. For public meetings that have already been noticed, we will need to renotice in order to provide the updated information. 1, standard 48-hour notice, except for an emergency meeting to all members of the public body, posted at the meeting location on the public body's website and provided to any news media that has requested notice. 2, during the meeting, participating members must be verified and must be able to hear one another as well as hear all discussion and testimony. 3, during open meetings, members of the public who are present at the meeting location of the public body must be able to hear all discussion, testimony, and votes of the members of the body. 4, if attendance at the regular meeting location is not feasible due to the disaster, alternative arrangements must be made and notice of the meeting must include the arrangements that will provide live public access to hear all parts of the open meeting, phone number or link to Zoom, Teams, GoToMeeting, etc. 5, at least one member of the public body, the chief legal counsel, or the chief administrative officer must be physically present at the meeting location unless it is not feasible due to the disaster. Other members of the public body may attend in person or remotely. 6, all votes must be by roll call, identifying each member and recording their vote on each issue. 7, standard minutes of all meetings must be kept, approved, and made available for public review as usual. And 8, a verbatim audio or video recording of all meetings must be made available to the public for review. These recordings are public records and must be maintained per the Open Meetings Act. And then the rest is the announcement, and you all got it here that we are meeting. The agenda, minutes, and video podcast of this meeting will be available at peoriagov.org/city council meetings. And you can certainly contact me if you have any questions about that. Okay, so let's see, we've gone through the roll. Let's start by approving the minutes. And you know what? I've just lost the dates. Here's the dates. Let's start by taking a voice vote of, well, that's the town hall. There was one before that. I'm just looking for the date of those minutes here. Okay.
Minutes for the town hall.
Excuse me?
The town hall minutes.
Well, I'm looking at the August, I was just trying to get the date for that. The August 12th, 2021 meeting via Zoom of just our committee. I thought we could do them in order. So can I just call the roll of the people that are in attendance, or do I call everybody's name?
Just in attendance.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to go around the way I see you guys on Hollywood Squares here. Catherine?
Yes.
Shively? Chief
So moved.
Echevarria? Thank you.
I'm here. That was for me.
It was to vote on the minutes of the August 12th meeting. Lee Lang,
Approved.
Andre Allen,
I wasn't at that meeting, so I'll be abstaining.
okay. Lorraine King, Lorraine, you are muted.
Sorry, yes.
Okay, Allison Galvin,
Yes.
Shalandra Birch.
Yes.
Okay, did I miss anyone? I feel like I might have missed. Lee Lang, I got you right.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So those minutes are so approved. Thank you. We are going to move on to the minutes of the town hall meeting on August 26, 2021. Catherine Shidley,
So moved.
Chief Echevarria,
Yes, move.
thank you. Lee Lang,
Approved.
Andre Allen,
Yes.
Lorraine King,
I wasn't present.
okay. Allison Galvin,
So moved.
Shalandra Birch,
Yes.
thank you. So we have approval of the August 26 minutes now. Okay, so just checking in as Andre always does, see how everybody's doing. Is there anything anybody wants to talk about in particular that we don't have on the agenda, or should we wait for the end there?
Dr. Zagato, it's Shalandra, really quick. I have another board meeting that kind of conflicts with this time. So I will have to leave a few minutes early. I'm sorry, I tried to vote for different, but I got outvoted.
Okay, thanks, Shalandra, for letting us know. Okay, so I guess the first item of unfinished business we have is the virtual town hall series recap. And I think that's important to talk about because under new business, we're going to talk about continuing the town hall. So would anybody like to comment on, how we did, what we could do better, what your impressions were of the town halls? The one of them was to introduce the community to resources that they might not know about. And we had PCAV and the resident officer and the resource officer present. Another one, we introduced the chief. Andre, what was that third one we did? We did one before that. All of a sudden I'm blanking. I didn't take notes.
Chief Boone.
Chief Boone, that's right.
Yeah,
Chief-
Chief Boone and Becky Rossman, and I think Christopher Johnson was on that
Right.
one as well too.
Yeah, there was another one before that. And I'm just.
Oh, the first one was the resident officer program.
Okay, so I guess.
We had Officer Hodges and Captain Cook on that one.
Right, I kind of mixed them all together. So we really would like some feedback because we did get some members of the public attending and asking good questions. What did you guys think? If you want to raise your hand or put your little emoji up. Catherine. Catherine, you're muted. Oh, you got to start over.
How do we get more public participation?
That's a battle we've been fighting, or a hill we've been trying to climb here, trying to get more people involved in the process. So we do have two members of the community here tonight. We're going to ask them how they found out about it and if we can keep that going. I think that's one of our number one issues. Thank you. Anyone else have any comments about our town hall meetings? Well, I guess we'll talk about future town halls, but just post-mortem on the ones that we did. Did you think they were useful?
Madam Chairwoman, overall, I thought they were great. And I could be extremely biased, but I like the themes of them. Although we would love to have more participation, I think our notoriety of the committee is probably at an all-time high than what it's been in recent years. So I think that as we just look to continue, we just got to continue the momentum, although if it's small, we've got to continue to keep it going because I thought that they were relevant, they were timely, and those who came got something out of it. So I definitely want to, give kudos to everybody that participated in it, and I would love to see them continue.
Thanks, Andre. I have a question for you. When you say our notoriety is an all-time high, what is your indicator? How do you know that, and how can we? So when you're notoriety, I guess you're saying public awareness of the committee. How do you figure in that?
I'm just saying with my platonic interactions that I'm having with people, people are hearing about the town halls, even if they're not able to attend. I think shout out to the media for covering our town halls. They usually do a good job about sending out a representative, and then they'll do a type up the next day as well too. So just those little things is really helping as far as building our momentum up. I think we all know we would love for these to be, have 100 participants, but even having 10 or 15 people, I think it's in a win itself.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that feedback. Shalandra?
I think that the meetings went well. I think the topics were excellent. Focusing on things that are going on in the community. And I think that people learned more. I know I for sure learned more about different services in the community. And I do have something that I think may get a couple more people coming, but I'll wait till you get to that part.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the very last thing you said.
I said I have like a slight idea of how maybe we can get a couple more people to come, but I don't want to jump ahead. I remember you said you're going to discuss that next.
Okay, the suspense is killing us. Okay, perfect. Okay, so does anybody else have any comments on, thank you, Shalandra. I learned a lot also about some of the resources that we have. Because I think the best way for us to be a effective functioning committee is for us to know what's going on and what the resources are out there also. So I learned a lot also. Anyone else have anything to offer about the past meetings? Okay, so I guess we can move on to new business unless, did we miss any unfinished business that anybody wants to bring up? Okay, I don't see any little, you guys know the gig here when you, if you want to speak, just raise your hand with those reaction buttons at the bottom of your screen, please. So new business, we have talked a lot about how Zoom has given us a unique opportunity to connect with members of our community who can't make it to City Hall, 4th floor. So I think we have expanded our reach to people who have access to internet, which is a good thing. And our meetings before weren't, we do have more people now showing up for that. We do, I'm not sure we're going to be meeting in person anytime soon, but we can always be hopeful. So we've talked a little bit about meeting out in the community, bringing our conversation to the public so they have easier access to us, either regular meetings or town halls. So there's I think, I don't want to say confusion, but we've been told different things about where we're allowed to meet, whether we're just allowed to meet in city-owned buildings or whether we're allowed to meet in community centers. So we have met in community centers in the past. I don't know if we just need to keep this topic on the back burner until we're allowed to meet in person. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think so, Madam Chairwoman. I think us just kind of maybe keeping it as a a old business item that we address, when it's relevant. I hope that we can get back in person and I can interact with you fine people, but not having a crystal ball, it's not looking like that's going to be something in the foreseeable future. But I do think that once we are able to get back in person, maybe we can revisit if we're able to have our standing meeting in different building locations, or if we keep the theme of the town hall, we might say, what, City Hall is still fine for us to meet for our monthly standing meetings because we're still having these monthly town halls and we're rotating to different avenues within the city of Peoria.
Thanks, Andre. What I would like to do also is make sure that anybody that wants to attend now while we're on Zoom has access to Zoom. So I don't know if anybody, I don't know if we've encountered that, but I'd like to have a solution. I'd like to be thinking about a solution. I mean, I was thinking about public libraries. I don't know if they're allowed to log on to Zoom at the public library, or I don't know, at the police station, if they'd be willing to let community members show up in Zoom. But I do want to make sure that if someone does approach us and wants to attend, that they can. Lorraine, Ms. King.
Yes, I think that the town hall meetings were beneficial and they were very valuable to us as members because we had a lot of new members and it was also a nice refresher for seasoned members. However, I don't see the benefit in having it every single month. I think that we could probably do it every other month. And I think it would be very beneficial if once we can meet in person, that we go back to the community because we got the most participation and input at that time. So I would be in favor of continuing it, but not every single month at this time, and going back to open in-person meetings as soon as we can safely.
Okay, thank you, Lorraine. Kay, did you have your hand up? Or maybe you just went up and then came down?
At the library, you can connect to Zoom, but you cannot speak and you have to have your own headphones.
Okay, thanks for that, just to hear. Okay, got it.
Correct. They may be able to hook you up in their own booths over there. You have to ask them. Then you'd be able to talk and speak.
Okay, thank you for that. Chief?
Yeah, just Ms. King there mentioned some things, and I think town hall meetings, I think are very efficient. Great to get information out, but I think if you do them too much, then people don't seem to want to come because it's kind of the same, maybe repetitive and not enough information to really put out. So I would say at minimum, maybe once a quarter. We got 4 months. We got plenty of information. We've had some things that we've gone through. We've dialogued on our end over here, and maybe we have more to put out at that time. And I think, they're good virtually, but I think people don't want to sit in front of a computer. And I think if once, just like the councilman said, I don't know when we're going to go back to being able to be in front of each other. I think people want that contact and want to be able to get in a room somewhere where we can do this. And I'd love to see us do these out in the community somewhere in different areas. I think that's key. Everybody doesn't have the access that we do or the time, but if we come to them and we're in their neighborhoods and it's easy for them to walk out of their house to the local park or to a local business or something that's in the area, I think it makes it a little bit easier, and we're able to lower those barriers that they may have that we're maybe not aware of, and then they're able to have access to it.
Thank you. I think there's a lot of agreement on that. We did try to designate themes for each of the town hall meetings. So I don't know if we're running out of people who want to present their resources. We don't want to be incredibly repetitive. But so I think we'll take that into advisement, and when we run out of people who want to share information about their resources, we'll definitely not just sit around and talk to ourselves. Joyce,
Chair,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Madam Chair, may I speak? I was just, you mentioned about having the meetings, possibly at the police station. And I'm a member of another committee, the Racial Justice and Equity Committee, and they did give us permission to meet there, but then we were not allowed to do that now, not at this time. So it is a place where we can meet in the future, but not now. It's not permitted right now.
Right. I'll welcome Joyce Saran. Could you identify yourself, please? Thank you. I think I see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you very much. I am, the hat I have on this evening is the Faith Coalition for Racial Equity. And so we have an interest in the issues that surround policing in the community and throughout the country, but mainly just here in Peoria. And so you asked the question about trying to get meetings that are more people attend. And I will say that you have to jump through some hoops to get to be able to attend this meeting via Zoom. The Zoom link is not posted. Your meeting really, it's just hard to find you. So if you wanted to, then you have to jump through another hoop to get an email and that sort of thing. And I think the idea that the line of thinking that the chief was going down about sort of maybe piggybacking with other events that are going on to have a town hall meeting where like say the Park District has events throughout town, that maybe there's a way to have a table, a booth, whatever, and so, talk with people and get their ideas, but make it be more specific about something you're actually working on. So just a couple thoughts, but thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for those ideas. Yeah, we know it's really difficult to the hoops you have to jump through, and we appreciate you jumping through them and being here. So, and also Kay, we appreciate you guys hanging in there with us. Okay, so I think that we'd all like to get together, but we just can't do it right now. So I guess we might as well jump the future virtual town hall series up since we're already talking about it. So why don't we talk about that? What, I really apologize about this light on my face here. What topics would you all like addressed, in addition to what we already presented, and who would you like to talk about it? I was lucky enough to have a conversation today with Pastor Martin Johnson, and I think that before the mayoral election, before COVID, there was a group started by then Mayor artists of some Black community leaders that almost had the exact same name as us. I think it was Community Police Relations. Anyway, they've renamed themselves, and he said he would get me their new name. But they did a lot of work. And then after Chief Marion left and Mayor Artist left and COVID happened, I think they languished a little bit. So I would personally like, if it's not a town hall, at least have him come present at one of our meetings on the progress they made. They went down to Urbana and had a conversation with the Citizens Review Board, on how they processed complaints. So I'd like to learn about that. I don't know if that's something that you guys are interested in. I'm going to try to have a meeting with him again later this week, but I was running out of time on the phone. So I see some hands up. Shalandra, I saw yours first. I'll go to you and then I'll go to Lee Lang. So Shalandra, who would you like?
I was thinking of a couple of things. One thing I was thinking of is perhaps, and I don't know if this is allowed because I'm not 100% sure, but if we could maybe get our information on the local radio program, maybe that could get a couple more people to attend. And also if we had maybe some, the community topics interest everyone, but maybe if we had some topics that maybe interest a specific community, like maybe people are interested in learning more about car theft or something, how to like lock your car up or something random like that, or more about safety at night or something like that. Maybe things that people are actually interested in their community. Maybe they would come to our community meetings. And those are just some ideas, not anything that we have to necessarily stick to, but just some things that I was thinking too. Because if people are interested in the topic, then they may be more willing to come.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Shalandra. And I think they also might, the speaker might bring along some audience members who are interested in that topic. So if you want to send some names of some speakers who might have a topic of interest, I mean, that, all of you are welcome to do that, that we can start thinking about. I mean, I agree. I don't want these meetings to be a repetition. I don't want the town halls to be a repetition of our own meetings. I mean, we want to be offering something new and different to the community. I think it had been our hope that each of the speakers in our town halls would let the people they serve and people that need their services or their colleagues also show up. I'm not sure we did a good job of telling them that, but I like your idea. Let's see, Lee Lang, you were next.
I have a question for the chief. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Chief, do you support neighborhood watches in conjunction with the residential program?
I'm going to ask you a question. What do you mean by neighborhood watches? Are you talking about the neighborhood watches where we have an organized group of neighborhood people who will call the police? Or are you asking about a neighborhood watch who wants to walk out and have a radio and be able to communicate with the police? Like they're the police.
I'm not talking about stand your ground kind of stuff. I'm talking about neighbors who get together in their own little community, which is their own neighborhood, which could be 1 block or could be 3 blocks. Because part of this committee is to improve the relations not only with the police department going to the community, but the community going to the police department. And I see that as a member of a neighborhood watch that is very active and has been able to clean up their neighborhood on more than one occasion, I find that when you get groups of neighbors together who commit to saying this has got to stop, and then they become informed on who their district officer is, what other officers are available. They get to talk to their neighborhood residential officer. I know that for 11 months, our neighborhood watch used our residential officer almost as our private police officer until we got the neighborhood cleaned up this last time. In fact, we joked with him about what was he going to do now that the problem was solved. Of course, he has other neighborhoods to help clean up. I also think that if we get involved with the neighborhood watches and get some organization there, we will draw more people into these meetings because they will want to be part of something that's going to help.
Well, to answer your questions, I would encourage communities to take ownership of their areas and have a neighborhood watch. Absolutely. I think it's important for neighbors to come out and, part of that, you see it in a night out against crime. That shouldn't be the only night that we come out of our homes and say we're fighting against crime and we're together with you. And so I would highly encourage that. I had my hand up so I could speak to really touch on, I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but I've hired depending on this background, when it comes back, we have a PIO that will be starting here pending the background investigation. And the things that I want to do is make sure that we are highlighting, first of all, this is the Advisory Committee on Police Community Relations, right? We should be also highlighting these meetings on our social media and saying, come on this date, come see this, we're going to have these speakers. I want to make sure I'm going to be promoting a new assistant chief here in the near future. There'll be some new captains, there'll be some new lieutenants, and I want the community to know who they are and be part of it. It shouldn't just be, they know who the police chief and that's it. I want to start to be able to highlight who our officers are, put these stories out there. And part of that is this communication, this form of communication with our community. And so we want to use this platform also to be able to publicize what this committee is also doing.
Okay, is Tony I think his name is Tony Rommins?
Yes, the sergeant, yes.
Is he still the contact person for neighborhood watches? Because
Yes.
I can remember back in 2005, 2006, there were a lot of neighborhood watches. I don't hear so much anymore, but I know they're very effective in helping in interaction with the police department and giving the police department the information that they need to really get some work done in the neighborhoods, and I'm an advocate of neighborhood watches.
And I don't dispute that. I think COVID has hampered some things over the last year where we can't come out and meet with neighborhood groups like we used to probably. I can say that from where I came from, it hampered it. I've been here 4 weeks, so I'm guessing that part of that has been, people are afraid to be out around other people, COVID, all these other issues that surround that. And I hope that we can get back to that.
Okay, thank you.
Chief, you had your hand. You were next. So was there anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, I added in there. It was that part of us having getting a new PIO and really starting to put out this information, putting out more information than we put out in the past. Be a little bit more transparent with what's happening, what we need to be doing, what's going on, et cetera.
Okay, thanks. We look forward to more communication. And PIO stands for Public Information Officer, is that right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, the Public Information Officer. Yes.
Okay, Ms. King, I see your hand is up.
I just wanted to piggyback on what Ms. Lane said. It sounds like she's talking about the neighborhood associations, and we had very active neighborhood associations before COVID. And right now I'm a part of the Next Door group, and that group is always bringing things to the attention of neighbors, no matter what it is. And they do follow this committee meetings. So that's a very active group, is Next Door. They follow everything at City Hall and this group too.
So should we be posting?
Maybe we could post it to I don't know about the neighborhood associations, but I know that, in the past when I did that piece on the residential officer, it was one of the neighborhood associations that had nominated him, for Citizen of the Year, whatever it was, I forget. But I mean, they were very active before then. So, and I know that the one that I'm in is very active now.
Okay, thanks, Lorraine. Lee Lang.
Just in response to that, our neighborhood watch is not associated with our neighborhood association because we don't have a neighborhood association. It was just a group of neighbors that got together and decided they didn't like what was going on. And so now, I still get phone calls from neighbors, and then I tell them, this is a place you need to call, whether it be the police department, code enforcement. And so we're active in taking charge. We really work on, if you see it, say it, and that's what other neighborhoods could do. And COVID hasn't stopped us from doing anything.
I think a lot of the associations are meeting in person, but we have a very vibrant Next Door neighborhood watch. If they see it, they tell it, no matter what it is. Stray dog, stray cat, somebody breaking in doors, they show pictures, they exchange information on best practices, all kinds of things. And like I said, they do follow us too. So I think we're on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for your input. So let's, if this conversation can result in some suggestions for speakers at Town Hall series, just please feel free to share that, and their name and contact information, and maybe what we would ask them, what topic we would ask them to address that would be beneficial to our bridge between the community and the police. Did you have another question, Lorraine? I see your hand is still up.
I forgot to lower it.
Okay, so I think it sounds like maybe we will put the future of the town hall series under unfinished business and try to gather some topics and guests. Well, I guess, topics and guests go hand in hand. And then maybe next meeting, we can talk about, when we want to restart it and whether we feel that we have a useful contribution to make with the town hall. And I think it was good when we had 2 or 3 presenters also. It gathered, we got a lot of people interested in what they had to say. So let's go back to item B, which is committee participation in the complaint process. So we have over the past reviewed this periodically. Some of you guys are new here, but one thing we'd like to do is talk about the usefulness of our committee in the complaint process. We noticed recently when we were creating a presentation to Councilmember Kelly, when we looked at the complaint form, that there's some language missing that used to be there, and we'd like to talk about getting it put back. When you go to the city's website, there are 3 complaint hyperlinks. One of them is a glossy brochure in English, one is a glossy brochure in Spanish, and the third is the actual complaint form. It was, when this committee was created, we were supposed to be mentioned on the complaint form. So what happens if you guys followed that PowerPoint, that complicated slide, which I hope you guys have, and if you don't have it, we can get it to you. The process that a complaint goes through when it hits the police department. It is done 100% internally with the police, and then the citizen that made the complaint is given the result. We come into the process only if the citizen has an issue with the complaint outcome. Our committee information is supposed to be on that form, and it disappeared, and we just found out about that. So we would like to request that language to be put back so that citizens that are making a complaint understand that they can come talk to us. Like I said, it is on the glossy brochure in English. I did not look at the one in Spanish. So that's just a fairly superficial request. And then I guess there's the whole request of the whole topic of, like, who are we, what do we do, and can we make it better? And I think this is something that we wanted to talk to Chief about and ask, how did you do it? You've seen that slide now, and I'm sure you know how this works in the police department. How did it work in Elgin? Can we do it better? We just don't, people aren't coming to us, and I don't know if people are even going to the police. So I'll stop now and let you talk. We're going to ask you a question.
Actually, that's could be good or bad, right? If I'll tell you this, and I raised my hand and it didn't go up apparently, but when you were mentioning this information, I, for one, think that our website is horrible. Horrible. The information is not easy to get to. It's not user-friendly. And so one of the things that I'm working on here is to create a public-facing transparency dashboard, right? On that dashboard will be an area for how do you file a complaint? How do you file a complaint? Both, not just complaints, but in there, we will put that whole flow chart so the community knows exactly how it works and your contact information. And as we work on this, I will tap into you guys to say, this is what we're building, this is what it looks like, and look at it for you guys to take a review of it. And this will be an open dashboard. If you share if you can share, I don't know if I can share my screen with you, I can show you what that dashboard looks like, or if you want to pull up the Elgin Police Department Transparency Hub online there, you can pull it up there and you can go right to where you'll see what I'm kind of talking about. We will make it more robust here where we have, it's different. It's done a little bit differently here, the way things are done here with this committee. And so this information can be right there and gives them, how do you file a complaint? Where do you put it? We're actually adding another software system, if you want to call it an app, that we're looking at right now that's called Tip 411, where that would be another avenue if somebody wants to push a complaint to the police department, and we can add that there. It's an anonymous tip line. We can communicate two-way through this anonymous tip line, and they stay anonymous. They have an opportunity if they want to say who they are to say. But we want to make sure that people have, that we're not limiting the way for them to contact us if they want to file a complaint. And we want to share the information on this committee on that dashboard, so they know that that resource is there if they don't agree with something that occurred. So I don't know if you're pulling it up. It looks like you're working on something.
No, I'm just trying to unmute myself. I'm not good at this. I don't know if Christina can help do that.
Well, okay, I think I see it here. I can probably do it. Give me 1 second.
While you're getting that up, I appreciate it. The one thing, well, there's a couple things. So in addition, on your 411 tip line that's anonymous, can you make sure that our committee is mentioned so that people know they can come to us? Number one, and number two, can we get the form change? And number three, on this dashboard, will it be interactive? Will a citizen be able to just fill out the form and push a button and have it go directly?
Yes.
Okay, because that's a
Yeah.
problem right now. Right now, there's like 10 steps. It's like people stuck in Afghanistan trying to get through red tape for 2 years, trying to print forms and download forms and print forms and get it to the proper person. If they can submit it just from their phone on an app, I think that would be a huge improvement in communication. And, quite honestly, the more complaints you get that are not upheld, the better your numbers look.
So
right?
here, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if I can do this. Tell me if you guys are seeing it.
Not yet.
Host disabled, participants.
Christina, do you have the ability to, I don't know if I can. Can I do it? I'm not the host.
Christina, you the host?
Yeah, kind of fine.
Oh, there it is. I got it.
Okay.
Let's see here. Okay. Do you see my screen
No.
now?
Yes, starting. It's, well, not yet.
Yeah.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. So you'll need to see my emails. You'll need to see that. Do you see, what do you see?
Police employee complaints, City of Elgin.
Okay, so we're here. Let me go, it's hard to, let me see if do you still see it?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So here's what this dashboard basically looks like, right? Now, we will be adding some other things, and we'll be working internally here to know what we want to put out. But
Hey, Chief, we just know all we have is a vertical blue line, or at least that's all I see.
And disappeared.
yeah, okay, hold on.
And everyone, if you're not talking, please mute yourself. We're getting a little bit of background. Thank you.
All right, do you see it?
Yes.
Yes, now we do. Thank you.
Okay, let's try this. So I just can't see up here. So what you see here, for example, it'd be something similar to this, to transparency information, dispatch calls, response to resistance, employee complaints. This is right at the top of, year to date. But then we're able to break this down to show you, for example, here are the complaints. And this is where I think the community is missing some information, right? This is information we should be putting out. Organization investigating allegations, right? Whether we're doing them internally or we're doing them outside. Originating complaint, more importantly, do we have internal complaints or are the complaints external? And I think what you'll notice, I don't have the information obviously for Peoria in front of me, but what you'll see, it's not going to be much more different than this, is that you're going to see that there's more internal complaints, which means that we are policing ourselves internally. And that's information that we'll have and be able to share, so we get complaints internally, somebody, did something internally and we deal with it, right? Not necessarily something that happened out in the community. Or it could be something that happened that a supervisor saw and now he or she is taking corrective measures on an officer. So that's what you'll see in this pane. And so it gives you those numbers. But so here, complaint information, allegations, findings, discipline, we'll be able to post this type of information to the public. So at any time they want to see where it's at, they can look and find out, all right, there was 11 allegations of conduct, a performance complaint, policy or procedure, or use of force, whatever the case was. Employee data, let's get it going here. Gender, rank, race, ethnicity, kind of a summary here at the end of what the complaint was. Obviously, we're not putting out names and some of that information, right? There's some things that will be private during the process of these things, but that gives you kind of a feel of what that's like. And I'll show you where the complaint portion of this is at. Let's see if it's on this, where you can file a complaint. All right, so right here, filing a complaint, click here. Obviously, ours will look different because of the way our system would be set up, but here, click here for a complaint form. Here they do it, and they can fill out this complaint, and it can be emailed directly to where it needs to. We would make it so it comes to the party that it needs to come to here. So to our internal affairs office, right? And then from there, it will go to who it needs to go to.
So Chief, did you, and Elgin, did you have a committee such as ours that reviewed complaints?
No, I wasn't part of that. They are just, oops, I think I just closed everything out. Sorry about that. You guys see me or do you see my screen?
We see you.
Okay. Yeah, so no, we were in the process of implementing that. I don't even know where they're at with it now because I'm here. So no, there wasn't. Now they had some other different things where there was an outside agency, an attorney's office that essentially was taking and handling some of the complaints, depending on the level of what the complaint was, whether it was a use of force, whether it's that complaint, an improper use of force per se. I don't even know what the standard was for these, but an outside agency that was not affiliated to the police would handle those. So when the RFP went out, it was requesting that there was no affiliation to any police organization. Even the people that worked there couldn't have affiliations to policing. It was very difficult to find a group like that because think about attorneys and the circles they run, but that's something Elgin was doing. It was a little different, similar but different.
So yeah, thank you for taking us through that. I think at least at a minimum, being able to submit the form via email would help.
Yeah, and I think what from the police perspective is that we are putting that resource out there. We're not hiding it. If you need to file a complaint, here it is. Here's the access. And that's not the only way to file a complaint. It's not only online. You can come to the station. You can call the police department. So there's other ways, and we're not turning down complaints. Whether you call, whether you submit it, whether it's submitted anonymously, whether you submit it in person, whether you submit it online. So you have to be able to provide options, because I feel confident enough to say, if we're doing the right thing, if we're doing the right stuff in the police department, we're not concerned. And if there is a complaint, we're going to look into it. And here's all your options to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Could the two people, let's see, Lee Lang and Reverend Parks, could you all mute yourselves while you're not talking? We're getting a little bit of feedback here. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And also we really would appreciate if that language was put back on the complaint form. It's on the glossy brochure. You can see it. put back on the form so that citizens know they can come to us. Let's see, Allison Galvin, I think you had your hand up first.
Hey, Chief, just quick question. You know, what is it that you want from us as an advisory committee? You know, because that's something that I'm just curious about. For what type of role would you like us to play? You know, what kind of things are you looking from us? Because I see, you know, what about the dashboard, you really into transparency, which I love, because we all need to have some type of transparency in any positions that we have. So I appreciate you, you know, bringing that dashboard forward. I got really excited when you showed it last time. But what exactly do you think, you know, you'd like our role to play as an advisory committee?
You know, I think the role of the advisory committee, obviously, I think there's going to be people who are not going to want to file a complaint because either they're scared, they're nervous to approach it a certain way. And I think you're that group that they can approach. You know, somebody, if you have those relationships, here is a group of how many, 13, 14 people in the community that if somebody wants to file a complaint, it can be done through Janice, Lee Lang. It could be done through any of you. And here's another connection to the police department for the community. If they're fearful, if they're hesitant, here is another way for them to have that connection. And all of this we'll put on this transparency dashboard. We'll be able to put your name, and here's a contact if they need somebody to walk them into the police department. Right? Everybody doesn't have the comfort levels that we may have. You have a different comfort level. You're here on this, right? Other people aren't going to have that comfort level. And I think as we move forward as an agency and then as a group here, this transparency dashboard, I think when the public sees that alone, that we are pushing all our information out to you, I think that starts to build that trust and legitimacy that we're looking for in a community. And so these are the steps that we have to take to get there. And once we're there, you know, I think what you're going to see, and I'm very confident you're going to see, is that you're going to see that the amount of complaints that you think we should have or get are probably minimal compared to the complaints that we get internally ourselves, because we're self-policing and monitoring the activities of our officers. And so I think that's where I see you guys as that other connection. And there's something that we're missing on the police side that you say, hey, Chief, we're seeing this, or we're hearing this story over here. I think you're that other voice for us.
Thanks, Allison and Chief, for that answer. Chief, you did mention somehow on your dashboard that people can make a complaint anonymously. But right now, if you have to email it in or on the form, how would an anonymous, external, I get kind of how internally maybe it might work. I don't understand. How would it work?
Well, we don't have anything set up for that currently. That's why I say that our website is horrible.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Good.
So like when I look at this, it's even when I was applying for this position, just trying to locate information. And I think I'm pretty educated and I know how to use the computer. And I know how to use a website. And I know how to go in there. This is horrible. When you look at it, our policies and procedures are here. You got to scroll through them. I mean, look, it's not very customer friendly. And so what we need to do is make sure that we have to make this very simple, easy for people to navigate and look through. And that's where we're going to be working on. It's not going to happen tomorrow. This tip 411, I'm in the process of getting that up and running. We're in the process. There's a whole lot of things in here that we're between Crime Stoppers, that's not putting out information that I think needs to be put out. Tip 411 that allows us to now get tips, but be able to communicate with people through those tips. Power DMS that takes all our policies and procedures and consolidates them into one area. So there's a lot of technology that we need to bring here to Peoria that's not here. And so once we get that all up and running, I think it would be a very smooth transition. like I said before, I'm in the process of putting a team together here with a new PIO, a new assistant chief, a new captain, new lieutenants, and having all those things in place and moving forward on what it is that our vision is and the goal is as an agency, and how we want to be transparent will come through with what we're creating.
Yeah, I think that would help a lot. Okay, we have 3 hands up. How we'll go Shalandra, Leland, Lorraine, and then we'll move on. Thank you.
And Joyce put a question too in the chat as
And we'll go
well.
to Joyce. Yes, thanks. I see that. Thanks, Allison.
I just have something really quick. I wanted to say that I appreciate having that dashboard. As someone who was on this committee who submitted a complaint and it didn't go anywhere, it feels good to know that there's actually going to be in the future some kind of process to show you how it's moving. And also say that I only have 2 more minutes, Dr. Zagardo, before I have to excuse myself.
Thanks, Shalandra. I appreciate that. I think I said Lee Lang next.
Okay, this is for the chief. I like the idea of the dashboard and all of that and the transparency. But what if you get that one citizen that is not satisfied with the resolution? Is this the part that's covered under House Bill, what is it, 3653, where complaints, even anonymous, can go to the board that was set up under the new bill by the governor under the Law Enforcement Training Act?
I'll tell you, that's a great question. I don't know if that falls under that bill. I will say there are going to be people, if we're being honest, there's going to be people who are not going to be happy sometimes with the results. You have to look, just because there's a complaint, doesn't mean that there's going to be an outcome that you're going to appreciate, right? After you do the research and after there's an investigation done, we have to look at the whole totality of it. Is it a valid complaint? Is it not a valid complaint? And what we may deem to be an invalid complaint based on evidence, based on body camera, based on witness information, somebody may deem to say, well, I still think it was a complaint, right? We're not, I'm here to look at, once the investigation is done, where did it all lie? Because there are going to be people there's going to be officers that have lied and have done things they shouldn't do, and we need to deal with that. But on the flip side of that, there are going to be people who are going to file complaints that are frivolous and they're not accurate. I've been doing this for 22 years, and I can tell you, when body cameras came in, body cameras helped the police and also showed some of the bad stuff police did, and also showed some of the lies that the community members said that happened that didn't occur. So we have to look at all the evidence and look at everything. And there's going to be people who are not going to be happy. People aren't going to always like the answer that we give them.
Well, the reason I'm asking this question is because if it is in fact covered where they have the option of going one step further, which would be to file a complaint with the board, because the complaints are usually going to be against a violation of the law enforcement standard and training program, that would be something that this committee would need to know so that they could say to the citizen who is totally concerned that they didn't get an accurate that there is another step that they could go to. And the power that the board would have would be that they can use all of the alphabet communities out there like ISP, DEA, FBI, all of those. They have those at their disposal, which I'm sure you do too, but they might be able to, So my question is, shouldn't this committee be aware, if this is in fact the case, that there is another step beyond?
Mas, would you be able to answer that? I know that you guys were looking over paperwork, you and the old chief, about the bill that was passed.
I would have to look into it.
Well, my understanding now from the way you guys have done it is if there's a complaint and and they don't, the complainant doesn't like the resolution, they bring it to you now. Am I correct, Janice?
That's how it's supposed to work in theory. So I guess this conversation leads me to ask Chief, when the situation is triggered that you put an RFP out for attorney review, what trips that? Who pays for it? And I guess it'd be interesting to hear a little bit more about that process.
Yeah, well, I don't believe that happens here. That was something from a.
No, it doesn't happen here. So my
Yeah.
question is that something that we want to look at, or is that something that would be useful? Or-
And that's going to be a question that would come up, obviously, with legal and counsel at some point on who is investigating the case, right? We investigate here with our internal affairs office. If the community is saying, well, we don't want investigations happening for these types of things through the police department, right? And some things, if it's criminal in nature, we're not going to investigate, a third party does. So we already have that covered, but the third party is a law enforcement agency. So if you're saying you don't want ISP investigating a complaint of some type, then that's a decision, obviously, you guys would look at making and push. Obviously, I will tell you this. There are cases or complaints that internal complaints that were sitting on our office over there that were very simple. We would resolve them. It was nothing that, it wasn't external complaints that were coming from community, and they're paying thousands and thousands of dollars to have somebody else do it from the outside. I don't know if Peoria has that capability based on the budgets that I'm seeing and the budgets that I came from. I don't think they would have that capability to do that. And I don't know if the data would even show that you needed to do that. And that's something you would have to take a dive deeper in to look at. Again, some of these, the city there where I was at had somebody at City Hall that would investigate an internal complaints that were investigated there. And we kept them away from the police department, but they moved away from that and went out to an outside agency firm, if that makes sense. And so I don't know if that's something that's really needed here, but that's something that, I'm here to support whatever the decision is for you guys to do.
So what was the outcome of that? What was the outcome of moving to the outside firm? I guess that's the real question is, what did it do?
I wasn't there long enough for it to really see it in full action. It just happened prior to me going this last year. I think a lot of it was a big waste of money, to be honest with you, because there was cases in there that were evident that there was no use of force, there was no issues, there's body cam video on it, but because it fell into this category, you had to send it out. You're paying. It's not cheap to have an outside firm look into these things. But that was the decision that was made there. Now I couldn't give you any further information because again I was gone now. But I could always ask them and call, hey, well, how's this working out for you? But I think a lot of it was a big waste of money. I don't think they're going to be able to, my personal opinion, I think we'll see a change in the future over there. I don't think they're going to be able to sustain that for a long time. Because if you're sending everything out to an outside agency, an attorney's office to do this, it can become financially burdensome. And so I don't think they'll be able to sustain it. We'll see. I don't know at this point that Peoria could sustain something like that anyway. And so, but I've been here, 4 weeks? I haven't seen any major complaints come through here. which I'm very, very happy to see. And these officers here are really doing real police work. And when I say that, there's real crime, there's real violence here. And this is what they're dealing with out on the street. And I've yet to have anybody call me on my phone. And I've given my phone number out to a lot of people. I'm out at a lot of meetings, so much so that I had to tell Christina today, Christina, I can't do any more meetings after, my meetings have to be scheduled during this time, because I need to have time to be in my office to get some work done in here. And so I'm out at all kinds of events. I'm out talking to a lot of different people. And I tell you, what I've heard is the opposite. Man, the officers are doing a great job. And I'm talking to all demographics, not one group of people. And so I think we have a very professional police department. And will we have an issue at some point? Absolutely. Will we deal with that? Absolutely, we will deal with it. And I think this is what this group does, is just help keep the police in check if there is something that we need to be checked on. And I'm okay with that. Because, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Janice, can I just add to what Chief said, just to clarify? Any kind of policy change needs to go through council and the city manager. And especially since it would be a monetary cost, council does need to approve it. I just want to clarify that, since if this committee wants to discuss it, it's fine. They can make a recommendation to council, but they would ultimately be the ones who approve anything.
Yes, I understand. Thank you for clarifying that, Moss. Lorraine, I'm going to call on you next, but I want to say one thing, because I'm going to ask you a question after I respond to what Chief just said. Because Lorraine, I'm going to call on you because you're the one that's been here the longest, I think, in attendance, and there's some history. And I'm also going to tie in Joyce Harant's comment to everybody. I'm kind of not as new as some of you guys, but also the new kid on the block. And it's my understanding that this committee was formed out of a federal Department of Justice agreement with the city decades ago, not for the big crimes or complaints. I don't want to say crimes, complaints. The way what I recall hearing from committee members, 4 years ago, was that I guess now we call them microaggressions. There were complaints of police stopping youths in certain neighborhoods for playing their music too loud, but not in other neighborhoods, or for not putting their turn signal on in certain neighborhoods, but not in other neighborhoods. And so, Lorraine, I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about that. But I'm going to also mention Joyce Harant's comment, which is kind of a global question about, will the new website include information reported in the recent ACLU documents on police car stops, which seem like microaggressions, seem like these, and so it just seems to me that the complaint process should welcome those complaints in addition to the really, really big stuff, because it seems if you can stop the little stuff, it just seems like you're less likely to have the big problems. You're just not going to have this attitude, and that attitude can be corrected before it gets out of control. So I said a lot, but Lorraine, I don't know if you have anything to add regarding that, but I don't think we're waiting for the big, horrible complaint. We're trying to stop the little stuff. And I don't think I don't know if people are coming to the police with those complaints. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to, first of all, validate what Allison said. I'm very enthusiastic about what the chief said. And I noticed that some of the things that he was covering on the dashboard function are items that this committee has requested from time to time. It's been so difficult to get it. And then the other thing, Chief, that I want to commend you on is, like, single-handedly, you just elevated the status of this committee by saying that we could get involved at the beginning, because you're correct. Before, we had to tell people, oh, you've got to file the complaint first. And I would have people tell me, oh, I'm afraid to file a complaint because after retaliation, the very first retreat we had, that was the biggest stumbling block, was citizen distrust of police. I personally had an issue I was a member of the committee and I filed a complaint. It went nowhere. It didn't follow protocol or anything. I can tell you about that in a private conversation. But I think that having the community police is a big plus, because so many of the officers reside outside the community and have no relationship with the community except during their shift. And I think that's a detriment to improving police community relations. And that's why in the past I've asked, if the police are engaged in something in the community, let this community, assist you so that we can be side by side to let people know that we're working together to improve, and that we're not about just trying to downgrade the police. We're about trying to improve relations. And I remember when I first came to Peoria, the police community relations were very poorly. In my first contact with them was very poor. Over the years, it's evolved. And so that's why I'm willing to stay on. And now you've given me a huge boost of confidence with your plans for this dashboard that makes us more transparent.
Well, no, thank you for that. And the truth is, I want our relationship to be good. There's going to be times that we're not going to see eye to eye, but I think there's going to be times that we're all going to we'll see eye to eye on things. And I think that's what this is about. We don't always have to agree, but we can have some respect for each other and look at, I don't have a problem if we have a situation that has occurred and I need to bring you into a conference room and here, let's look at this body video together. Let's read this document together. Let's look at what occurred together and let me walk you through it. I don't have a problem with it. I think that's what this is about, is creating that transparency and letting you be the voice. And if it's bad, we have to step in front of it. Me here as the chief have to step in front and say, we messed up. But if it's not bad, you've also been able to see that it wasn't bad, right? And you're also that voice, because we know it's not always what it seems, right? But we do have to have some accountability. And so moving forward for me is, if there's something that you need and there's a complaint that comes in, we're not hiding complaints. And we're going to investigate any complaint that comes through here. Now, that doesn't always mean that every complaint is valid, but we're going to investigate and find out if it is valid. And if there's an issue, and I think on the flip side of that, when the officers know that the chief of police stance is, look, we're putting all this information out to the public. Look, we're going to take every complaint serious. Look, this is what we're doing. That alone puts them in check. The same way when body cameras came into policing, that police officers were doing things they shouldn't be doing when there was no cameras. All of a sudden, when there's cameras, that behavior isn't there anymore because somebody is watching them and it's that camera that's there, right? So it's the same concept with this. When people know that there's these other things and mechanisms in place and understand, I'm not saying that police are doing bad stuff or doing these things, but if they're thinking about doing something stupid or saying something they shouldn't say, they're going to know, they know that from the top of this department, this is the standard and this is what's acceptable and not. And the public is owed that respect that we want, right? And so I think having these things in place will also help curtail any of those other incidents that could occur. Not saying that something won't happen, because it always will. It's people policing people. People will do and say things they shouldn't do, right? Let's just hope it's not very detrimental to our community, because one incident, we're always one incident away from a big issue.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lorraine. So, Chief, will your website include a space for, Peoria data in the relative to Illinois data or U.S. data, the things Ms. Ront mentions about the ACLU and the police car stops? Will that be on the dashboard?
Well, we probably aren't going to be putting anybody else's data on there, because I get asked this question before. I came from Elgin. The ACLU document talks about Elgin and talks about what their stats are. We're not going to be doing that. We're not in a position to go and put other people's information. That's for them to deal with and their cities to deal with. My concern is going to be that our constituents, that our residents, that the people in Peoria have the most up-to-date information on Peoria. And here are our stats, and here is our live information. And that's my plan, is to have it. It's not to go bad mouthing or criticizing somebody else because some document says we're better than them here or they're worse than us here. That's not the objective of this. This is to inform our residents, our community, our constituents of what happens in Peoria.
That makes sense, but will you be publishing your data? I mean, I guess.
Yeah, our stats are going to be on there. Absolutely, live.
Yeah, I think what she means is, I think the Peoria reports its own data, and that's,
Yeah.
I think
So,
that's
yeah.
reasonable. Okay. So, yeah, so moving on, we have a couple minutes left here. Do you have some general police updates? Anything on the complaint process that we should be briefed on? And, before you start, I'm going to ask Christina, do we have any citizens who have asked to address the committee, just so we know how to allocate our time here?
We do not, Janice.
Okay, thanks. So Chief, it's your turn.
Okay, yeah, I think I mentioned it already. There has been no complaints that have come across my desk, and I'm very thankful for that. Internally, we've dealt with some little things that we've noticed that we've had to correct and talk to some officers about, but it's nothing that would rise to the occasion of an external complaint, some citizen complaint. It's just kind of us, police. And so I'm very happy about that. So there is nothing. I know you guys asked about the PIO in an email or the public information officer, and I've kind of spoke on that already.
Okay, well, we look forward to hearing about the new promotions or positions that you have ready to be filled. I guess I'm going to ask a question. I noticed an article in the Peoria Journal-Star that the AP reported on ShotSpotter inaccuracies, and I know that we rely on that system. It was pretty bad. So what do you have any opinion about the ShotSpotter system and how it's working, or what the reliability of the system?
So yeah, so can you hear me? Yes. ShotSpotter I've never used. Rockford had it. We didn't have it. But I have also looked into that. What I remind people is ShotSpotter is just another tool. Now, it's one tool of many tools that we should be using, could be using. Peoria has decided at some point to use ShotSpotter and have it. I do ask the questions of, and I've asked the questions and I'm waiting on the data to come back because I've already requested this data as to how many ShotSpotter alerts have we had versus how many of them have netted evidence, victim, or witness, right? Now, on the flip side of that, I can tell you that I get a report every morning of what has occurred the night before, unless it was something that we had a homicide or something else egregious, they would have called me. But I get a report every morning and I'll see, and let's just throw a number out there. Let's say there was 5 ShotSpotter alerts. Out of those 5 ShotSpotter alerts, one of them probably netted a witness or a victim or some evidence, right? So, or let's say it just netted evidence. That means nobody called in. We just found evidence, nobody called in, ShotSpotter alerted us. Now we respond to that area. The questions that I do ask is, does this cause some type of bias in us because we have ShotSpotter in these areas? Are officers responding into these areas with some type of bias because we have ShotSpotter alerts in those areas, right? As a chief, I do ask those questions, and I ask myself that question: what does this do to the mentality of our officers? Are we seeing anything? And this is where I have to have great supervisors. I got to have leadership in the department that is monitoring and watching how we react to calls, how we respond to calls, that we're doing spot checks on videos and making sure that our officers are behaving appropriately and not responding in a way that would be contrary to what we should be doing. On the flip side of that, I ask myself, how many times have we responded to a ShotSpotter and been able to find a victim and been able to save that victim? because nobody called it in, right? So that's the other side that people don't think about. How many times, and I think if it was your family member that was laying on the ground with a gunshot wound and was about to die and nobody called it in, because I can tell you there's a lot of these calls, nobody calls them in. Hear shots, nobody's calling them in. But because of ShotSpotter, we were able to locate that victim, get that victim the help they needed and get them to a hospital and start CPR right there, put a tourniquet on them, whatever it was that we needed to do to save them. So where's the value in ShotSpotter there, right? The value is so we have to look at all of that. How many times has this occurred? What is this? And so if we've been able to save one person's life because of ShotSpotter, then there's a lot of value in it, right? So, but again, that's one tool. Crime Stoppers is another tool. Tip 411 is another tool. All these tools have to be working together. If we're just counting on ShotSpotter to be our only answer, then that's where we have problems. We have to be looking at our data. We have to be looking at our heat maps and know where crime is occurring and where we're pushing our resources to. Where are we pushing our social service issues to? Where are we getting the help in these areas? Again, I keep saying crime, violent crime is not just a police issue. We have the information. We have to connect it with those other groups that continue to work in these silos here in Peoria. Get them together to say, here, this is where the issues are occurring. Get your services there. We'll do the police side of it. Here's the information. Maybe now you can get some services out in these areas too.
Okay, thank you for that. So do we have a map of where the ShotSpotters are? Are they concentrated in certain neighborhoods? And I guess what was disturbing about the report was that maybe some innocent people could be identified that, weren't really the perpetrators of crimes. How does that?
Well, the ShotSpotter is just indicating through analytics that a shooting occurred somewhere, right? Based on sound, based on measurements, it gives you an area where the officer needs to go look. So yes, an officer is going to respond because it's a shot. There's a 1% error rate with this system. And so they're going to show up and they're going to ask questions and they're going to wonder if we show up to an area. Now, again, this is where I say we, and when I say we, my staff here, my lieutenants and my sergeants need to be monitoring how we are responding to these calls. And we don't want to walk into a neighborhood the same way. I don't want to have a saturation patrol, let's call it, because we have shootings in an area and we go into a neighborhood and we're just stopping every single person. Because what are we doing? We are now victimizing the good people. Nobody in the community, I don't care who you are, wants violent offenders, gang members, rapists, sex offenders in your neighborhood. And so we need to be able to go out and pinpoint who these people are. And that's what we want to get out of our communities, right? And so we use this as a tool and we're going to respond to these areas and we're going to talk to people. Some people don't want to talk to the police. Some people may be offended that the police is talking to them because, man, I'm out here at midnight. So you're talking to me because I'm out here at midnight. They don't know that we need to be communicating with them. We had shots fired in this area. We're talking to you because you're in the neighborhood. Did you hear or see anything? And people aren't always going to be forthcoming if they were part of it, right? And so there is a fine line to walk, but the police need to do what the police are supposed to do. And that is investigate these crimes. And if there was somebody shot or there was somebody shooting a gun, we're going to need to talk to them.
Okay, thank you. We have one last question. I think we have time for just a couple minutes. Kay Berry has asked, what can we do to get better training for police officers in regards to handicapped people? And Kay, I don't know if you want to elaborate or just let the chief answer, but we're running out of time. So do you want to elaborate on that question or just let the chief talk?
Yeah, I'm on the advisory committee for citizens with disability, and there's been a really big problem. I've been involved in like 10 years, and a lot of the police officers are unaware of handicapped people and how to go about. in regards to what they're normally taught to do?
Well, I'm going to try to answer that question as best as I can, because when you say handicap, there, it can run the spectrum of a lot of different things, right? And I'm going to use handicap. I'm going to use autism, for example. Autism, it's not, I don't know if it's considered a handicap. I have an autistic brother, but I know that we have to train police officers in how to deal with those things. And where I came from, for example, autism, I did an autism awareness program. We had somebody come in and talk about autism, because I'll give you the example. If you see a child with autism standing outside of a pool looking in, nobody blinks an eye, right? It's a kid looking at a pool. Change that same kid to a 30-year-old person with autism looking in the same pool. What's the immediate reaction? He's a pervert. He is looking at the kids. He's not. He's looking at the water because he's stimulated by that water. And so we have to understand that. And do we need to have those types of training? Absolutely, we need to do, because we need to know what are the key things that we're looking for. And I use autism because it's kind of the big one that it's hard to detect. And you have to look at, you show up with your lights and siren on and somebody's doing this, or you ask somebody with autism a question, hey, what's your name? What's your name? Can I see your hands? Can I see your hands? And it's not that they're being belligerent, they're trying to mimic what you're saying. They have autism, and these are some of the ways they deal with it. They're overstimulated. We need to have the right tools in place. We need to have headphones in our cars, little trinkets and things to know how to deal with that with somebody that's dealing with autism. So 100%, we need to be better in policing and have those trainings in place. And as we move forward here, I don't know what trainings we've done here in Peoria. I haven't seen the training records of what we've done, but as we move forward, those will be some of the things that I recommend that we need to be training. I think autism is a huge, huge thing that we need to be training on and letting officers know how to react. We've seen videos of officers doing the wrong things and hurting somebody that has already a handicap because they were ignorant to what they were seeing. And so we do have to educate our law enforcement everywhere on that.
On the physical and mental and sure.
All of it, yes.
Good question, Kay. Thank you. Yeah, I look forward to hearing more about those training sessions. Okay, well, everyone, thank you for a great meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn? And we will see you next month. Does anyone?
Karina,
That Ms. King, or can someone, so Ms. King made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second. Tyson Park, second.
I heard Mr. Park, then we need to add him to the roll. He's here, and so is Ms. Wilson. So I'm going to go around and get your vote. Ms. King.
Yes.
Lee Lang.
Approve.
Catherine.
Yes.
Chief.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Andre.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Reverend Park.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everybody. We are adjourned. Have a great week.
Thank you, Janice.
Thank you.
Great meeting.
Bye, everyone.